Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. It's been a long time. It's been 2 months since I've done a live stream, and partly because typically by the end of the week, I am so beat up and tired, and it's 8 o'clock Eastern time. By the time Friday comes around, I'm usually so beat and so tired, and at times so depressed, going through a lot of the trials and tribulations that I've been going through for quite some time, honestly, even before my health condition. But something pretty remarkable happened today. And I want to share that with the audience. Now, all of you are just starting to get notifications that I'm going live. And it's been a while since I've done a live stream. So people maybe got out of the habit of watching the program at this time. So I'm just going to kind of talk about a few things. And then I want to talk about what I feel was the breakthrough um, that was really awesome. First of all, I want to start off with, and it's so funny, the simplest things in this world. I post on Facebook a picture of me trying on a pair of slacks in the dressing room and talking about being invited to attend the Tampa Temple groundbreaking ceremony on August 23rd. And I'm so excited about being invited to go to this. And I just kind of was having fun, like, hey, I'm buying a pair of slacks, because I got to dress up a little bit for this. I'm more of a t-shirt, jeans, and ball cap kind of guy. And then I just get jumped on by these Christians. The clickbait got me here, Conky, is what you're saying. Spill the tea. All right, Conky, I'm going to spill the tea in a minute, okay? Because actually, this is a very important day that happened, okay? But I want people to come on. Some people are just jumping on right now. It usually takes a few minutes for people to get their notifications. As a matter of fact, I'm seeing I haven't gotten my notification yet. So we got over 20 people here already. So that's good. That's a good start. So here's the tickets that I got to attend the Tampa Temple, so I can actually bring a guest, a reserved parking pass. And I'm just excited and honored and privileged that this is happening. And my pastor, Dan Meyer at the Harvest Sarasota, is invited, as well as Dr. Kyle Bashirs, who's a pastor at Mars Hill Church in Mobile, Alabama. He'll be coming down. And we have this opportunity to do this really cool, unique interfaith event, and we're not going to let the haters interfere with it. We will not be outside holding signs, Mormons are going to hell, or turn or burn, or we won't be mocking your temple garments or anything like that. No, we're going to be inside in this sacred space. It's an honor and a privilege to be invited. Maybe you've never been invited to these things, and I feel sorry that they haven't seen the light of Christ in you to the point that they would want to have you there, or at least how they perceive the light of Christ. Maybe you think you have the light of Christ in your life while you're standing outside and holding signs. Paul Black, summer in Florida. Get ready for 2 hours of rain every day. That is right, Paul Black. Just had some rainstorms rumble on through just a little bit ago. So really excited about that. And I just feel bad that some of the Christians in this space don't care. I mean, what would you do if you got invited? I mean, would you try to be a perfect stranger, or would you be a disruptor? That's the question I would have for you. And so I think there's jealousy there too. A couple of books I got in the mail I just wanted to share. This is a book called Consider Yourself as Eve, A Guide to Spiritual Development for Women and the Men Who Love Them by Megan Farner. She's actually an advocate of Heavenly Mother, and she has her own take on Heavenly Mother, which, of course, is a Latter-day Saint doctrine. And apparently, it's multiple Heavenly Mothers, which we've covered here on MBR as well. Also got a book in the mail called Latter-day Saints Are Existentialists, from my Stephen Smilinich. It's those Eastern European names always get me. And we've talked on the phone, and probably going to do something with him. Actually, somebody's got me a free subscription to this magazine called Restoration Voice, and it's based out of Independence, Missouri. And they gave me a free year subscription. I know who it is. It's Paul Luddy, who's one of the first people I ever talked to, and he's part of the independent restoration branches in Independence, Missouri. These are the people that chose to break off from the RLDS church as the church got more liberal. And and this is really fascinating because I paged through this, read some of the articles. There's old Saints Herald articles in here that were published from like the 20th and 19th century, and also contemporary articles. So these movements are still alive, and they're still putting out publications. And so it's really interesting to talk to these different groups. So of course we hear all the voices at to Mormon book reviews. Now, the last thing I want to talk about was this. My mom is going to probably help me with the book drawing for the John G. Turner authored book, Joseph Smith, The Rise and Fall of American Prophet by Yale University Press. Yale University Press was nice enough to send me an extra copy, so we're going to give one away. The giveaway is already closed to the public. The deadline was July 31st, but we need to get the drawing done. It's just been a hectic time. Okay, we're 5 minutes in. We got dozens of people here. And I think it's important to just talk about a real breakthrough that happened. Now, I wanted to say that earlier this week, the channel did hit 10,000 subscribers, which I will say that that's something that we should at least acknowledge. Now, the problem is that I acknowledge it, but then I also recognize that last year, the first quarter of the year, the channel had explosive growth. And I was actually on pace to get to 10,000 subscribers over a year ago. But then there was the deluge. And that was when I woke up on a Saturday morning in early April. It may have been end of March, early April, somewhere in there. And I had this loud ringing in my ear, screaming, loud ringing, and super sensitivity to sound, to the point that Mom and I couldn't even talk. We had to talk in whispers or text each other. I was so sensitive to sound. Turns out that's called hypoacusis. The loud ringing is something I've experienced off and on in my life, was tinnitus, but it was at a different level that I never experienced before. Okay. So effectively last year, I was bedridden for like a month and a half last year with this condition. I was supposed to fly out and speak at conferences, and the channel was doing great. And I had to cancel my flight. Randy Bell actually paid for my flight to go speak at Rod Meldrum's conference. Okay, I just want to tell you how excited I was to do that. I was a keynote speaker at the Firm Foundation, and then I was going to fly out to Independence, Missouri to speak at a Book of Mormon rally near Kansas City, and I had to cancel the day before because this happened, and I realized I can't fly because my ears really bother me when I fly, and so I just had to cancel. And then finally, I started getting in touch with some of the local ear doctors here, ENT specialists, and then found that there was a tinnitus support group in the area. And this tinnitus support group really was a lifesaver. So it was actually April of last year that I attended my first tinnitus support group. But I went to that first tinnitus support group. I had hope that maybe I'd be able to take that trip, but I just couldn't do it. So I had to end up canceling. And that was devastating to me. But I also want to say, and many people remind me of this, because early days when I told people when I started this channel, God told me not to make any plans, to kind of follow his lead, which I've tried to do. But I started making a lot of plans before all this happened. And I was under a lot of stress. I called it good stress because it's the kind of stress that keeps you going. But the problem is your body doesn't recognize the difference between good stress and bad stress, right? And so it taught me a valuable lesson. So I just remember laying in bed and even at the worst of it, thinking, okay, maybe this is the end of the podcast, because, maybe this is the end of everything. Maybe this is the end of my life as I know it. But because of the previous PTSD and experiences and I've talked about this on Mormon Stories, I did a 5-part full week on Mormon Stories. I talked about my life story. Many of you know that I've suffered from long-time depression and have had experienced PTSD. But that actually gave me the tools. And I was talking to my audiologist about this today. And this is what leads to the breakthrough that I'm going to talk about here in a second. Stan Suspetta says, I love your content. Thank you, Stan. Starbase Collab does the Switzerland of Mormonism symbol. Absolutely. Also, by the way, if you would like to make a contribution in the super chat and get a shout out from me, now's the time to do it. I love it when people make contributions. It's really cool. Every amount helps. It really does. There are much bigger podcasters that people give money to. That $2.99 that you give to a larger podcaster goes a lot further here on MBR than it does on others. So just keep that in mind as well. But I'm not doing this for the money, as you all know. So I started making plans, and I have to say, God brought me down to my knees, and maybe I need to get down on my knees. And so this has been part of my spiritual experience as well. There have been days of depression. There have been days where I've had a hard time getting out of bed. Okay, this has not been fun. And the depression predates even this severe health condition that happened to me. Now, I want to keep in mind that most of you who are going to be watching this are going to be after the live stream. I'm going to start doing live streams again, live again. Oh, okay. I just want to say, first of all, I just got 2 contributions back to back. Paul Black gave $10. Peace to you from another guy with tinnitus. Paul, reach out to me. Colby Reddish, $19.99. We all know Colby. Of course, he's going to be a periodic co-host here on MVR. So Colby, thank you so much for the contribution. It's greatly appreciated. So Paul Black, thank you. Colby Reddish, thank you. And also, I just want to tell you, while I was just doing my stuff today, I got a message on Messenger, and somebody said, my friend's son is suffering terribly from tinnitus. What headphones are you using? And I said, listen, I use the Bose noise canceling headphones, but I said, not everything works for everybody. What works for me may not work for him. I said, is he getting therapy? Is he going to a support group? Is he seeing an ENT? There's a lot more resources out there for people that have tinnitus. And please reach out to me, because this is really important. This is part of the story as well. Okay. So in June of last year, I got my first hearing test. Now, I have this real aversion to having things put in my ears. So the main hearing test that they do is just to put headphones over my ears, and they give a series of sounds like buzzes and words, and I try to identify them. June of last year, so this would have been a little over a month after I had these conditions, I got 100% hearing in my left ear, okay, for the word recognition test. In my right ear is 0%. Okay, that's June of last year. Then, as all of you know, April of last year, this past April, I was able to finally make some trips. See, I couldn't travel because traveling bothers my ears, and I don't want anything else going on in these ears that already is happening. Okay, so I got a test. We did an ear pressure test, and I'm just going to give first names. That's my audiologist. She's wonderful, and she's actually part of the tinnitus support group. Her name's Lynette, and she's been a really awesome human in helping me with this. So before I headed out in April, we did the same test, 100% in this ear, and then it went up to 24% in the right ear. So that was progress, okay? Well, the other day, I had these headphones on, okay? And this is what happens. I'm listening to 670 The Score out of Chicago, which is the main Chicago sports talk station. And I'm listening to their channel. My mom was trying to say something, so I lifted up my good side, and I was like listening to what she had to say. And then I realized I could hear every word that they were saying in the right ear for the first time. And I was like, as soon as that happened, I hopped on the phone. I called up my audiologists, and I was like, I need to get in there because I think I had a breakthrough today. Well, this is the breakthrough. We did the same test today. Remember, the first time we did was 0%. The second time, 24% word recognition in the right ear. Okay. Today, once again, 100% in this ear. In this ear, 60%. 60%. Wow. What an amazing thing. Now, I have to say, all those of you who are believers, whether evangelicals or Catholic or Mormon, Muslim, whatever you are, who've reached out to me throughout the world, said that they're praying for me, or hearing from many Latter-day Saints who told me, we put your name on the prayer roll in the temple, Steve, and also for your mom. Also keeping in mind, of course, that mom was hospitalized twice last year, and we had 2 hurricanes. So in addition to me losing a month and a half because of my condition, we lost actually about 2.5 months of programming on the channel. So, of course, like I said, 10,000 subscribers, that's a lot, but we were supposed to get there a year ago. But actually, this opens up an opportunity to partner with not-for-profits. Like when David Boyce at 52 Churches in 52 Weeks got to 10,000 subscribers, he partnered with St. Jude Charities and has done a really great work with them. So I want to use this platform as a means of educating people on tinnitus. And so that's the big thing. And I tell people when I first started coming back to doing interviews, so like last July when I started basically doing a regular schedule for the channel, I just tell people, I said, imagine interviewing somebody and you've asked them a question and they're answering the question and I'm listening and trying to listen to the answer, formulate the follow-up question to this answer while somebody's screaming in your right ear. See if you could do that. Okay. That's what I was dealing with. Okay, there was some drama with a crazy dude. Can't forget that guy. Oh yeah, Conky. Oh, more than one crazy guy. There are some crazy people out there who say some really crazy things about me, and I've had to deal with that. Maybe I'll address that. John Booker says, "Good for you, Steve. It's a Festivus miracle." Seriously, praise the Lord. Thumbs up from JB, maybe one, and Bruce Nelson. Wonderful. Good to see you here back, Bruce. And so it's been a very trying time. I tell people, the first 2 years of the channel, everything came easy. Everything landed on my lap. I mean, I tell people I didn't even have 1,000 subscribers when I was on Mormon Stories. When I was taping the interviews on that channel, I was just this tiny little channel. It really was miraculous that I went on the Joe Rogan and Mormon podcast that I did. I didn't look at it as a miracle then as much as I do now. I mean, man, that's pretty amazing. And just to have had the effect on this world, I'm not a bystander. I'm in many ways an active participant in this world, and in many ways having an effect within the Mormon podcast world, as well as within the actual Latter-day Saint world and within the scholarly world. And we're making really major contributions here, and I think it's important work. But I also want to say, so the prayers, the community, the love that I felt from the people who are not believers, the good vibes sent my way, and the encouraging words. Again, I want to thank you all for that. Okay, so I talked to Lynette today, and I said, okay, so explain to me how I went from 0% to 24% to 60%. Partly could be is that whatever the autoimmune condition that caused this mystery, the situation happening with my ear, the inflammation may have gone down, but also apparently my brain is making new pathways to try to kind of work around the hearing loss and find new pathways to help me with the hearing in my ear. The brain's a remarkable thing. I want to tell this story because I think this is an example of the tools that we can use if you suffer from PTSD, but also recognize that even if you haven't suffered from PTSD and depression, you can still use these same tools. You just don't realize you have them. Okay. So about 20 years ago, I had debilitating lower back pain. It was, I was in terrible pain. It affected me tremendously. And at the time, I was selling cars on near the south side of Chicago, and that can be a very stressful job to have, okay? And I just remember I was in such bad shape that I was about ready. I was going to fly out to see a friend out in Los Angeles, okay? And I finally said, I don't know if I can do the flight. Sound familiar? Like another case where I was afraid to fly to do the trip. I didn't know if I could do it. So I went to the emergency room at the Munster Community Hospital in Munster, Indiana, one of the top hospitals in the area. And I went into the emergency room and they did x-rays, and the doctor went to me and I explained to her, I said, there's something terribly wrong with me. And at this point I was probably down to 145 pounds. I mean, I was skin and bones. Because I was eliminating all these things in my diet because I thought maybe that was what was causing this. And the doctor just goes to me and she's like, are you experiencing a lot of stress and anxiety right now? And I'm like, yeah. And actually, before I even said yeah, when she said that, the pain in my lower back went away immediately, just like that, disappeared. It would have been the equivalent of a faith healer and putting their hands on me and the pain walking away. It was that sudden. It was that miraculous. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, your brain is a powerful tool. And it can be your friend, but it could also work against you. And what was happening was my anxiety was causing the lower back pain. And because I was experiencing lower back pain, it was causing more anxiety, therefore causing more pain. And so it immediately broke that cycle just like that. The pain was gone. I've never had lower back pain after that. And there's been a lot of studies that shown that a lot of people that suffer lower back pain, it is also often a psychosomatic condition. Okay. So I just want you to realize this, for those of you who are suffering, that, you can try to use these tools to help you. So one of my aha moments was one of my ENT friends who was I was visiting with them, and they explained to me, said, hearing loss is what you're experiencing is a lot like phantom leg syndrome that amputees experience. And that's they don't feel, they have their leg cut off, but their toes hurting or it's scratching, right? They said it's your nerves in your leg that are anticipating the rest of the leg that are there. So when you experience sudden hearing loss in your ear, those nerves in your brain are still there anticipating sound. So I was like, so you're saying my brain is making this noise? And he says, precisely. And I said, okay. Well, at that moment, knowing that I had the previous experience I had, that, like I said, miraculous, thing that happened, it felt miraculous, but I also understand there's also a naturalistic explanation that we need to talk about. And of course, we talk about all different lenses here at MBR. It was at that moment that I was like, okay, I just need to train my brain to ignore this loud screaming. Now, is that loud screaming happening right now as I'm speaking? Yes. Does it have any control or any unrighteous dominion over me? It does not. Okay. So hallelujah. Okay. I'm just so excited about this wonderful thing that happened today. And so I just want to thank everybody for that. That's so awesome. I want to just address a couple more things here. Tomorrow morning, I'll be taping part 2 of the rematch of Jim Bennett and Jacob Hansen. We will be talking about basically the latest thing with Aaron Sherarian, the PR director of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and his appearance at Fair Mormon. And don't get me started on Fair Mormon. I'm a little disappointed in them as well. And I'm disappointed in particularly with Scott Gordon of that group, who kind of was very dismissive of some terrible things that happened to me, and some terrible attacks were done, and just kind of told me to pound sand. And so, Scott, I'm very disappointed in you over at Fair Mormon. I thought you guys were fair over there. And I even told you when we talked on the phone last December, I don't think I could feel safe attending Fair Conference. But after we cleared the air about Robert Boylan, and that they had no relation with him, I was like, okay, I think maybe one day I will go to a Fair Mormon conference. And the next thing you know, I see they're advertising the conference, and whose picture's on there? Robert Boylan. And I was like, and I asked them to remove the photo, and they didn't. And this all stemmed from a conversation where they asked me to change the name of a title of a Jonathan Neville interview, and I did it right away because I had Fair Mormon in the title. And I immediately took it down, and that was a good faith gesture on my part. And he just tells me to pound sand. Oh my gosh, Stalin Cepetis, he just donated. Is this right? Did you donate $250, Stalin? Oh my gosh, thanks for your ongoing interviews with the Church of Jesus Christ Bicker Tonights. I have grown to admire your work. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, man. $250. Wow. That's the second largest contribution I've ever received in the chat. I did receive from Shiloh the Prophet earlier this week. That actually sent me $500 via the YouTube chat. So that was amazing. Thank you, Stalin. Okay. Oh, 250 Dominican pesos. Okay. Okay, I'll take whatever. I don't know how Okay, well, hey, Dominican pesos, we'll take those too. So I don't know. I'll have to do my calculator to figure out how much that is, but that's great, Stalin. Thank you so much. $4. All right, equivalent to $4. See, I've already started making plans what I was going to do with that money. And like I said, God told me not to make any plans. Oh, that's great. I love it. And so, yeah, I was a little disappointed in Fair Mormon. I'll probably talk a little bit about that. I did tape an interview last night with Rebecca Biblioteca of Mormonish. I thought that went really good. That's going to probably be released on Tuesday. I taped an interview today with Gene Judson and Ron Jorgensen about Sunstone. We'll probably release that sometime next week as well. And so we got a lot of good, interesting things coming. Still going to do the God Baker's cartoon panel discussion, and got an all-star lineup for that. And we're going to probably do another polygamy conversation. What did you all think of my interviews with Cheryl Brunel and Brian Hales? That was some pretty amazing stuff we did. So, and I'm really proud of those interviews. So I just want to go back because there are a lot of people who have jumped in on this conversation since I first started. The breakthrough, just to let everybody know, the breakthrough was the tremendous progress that happened where I went from 0% ability to hear words and to recognize words. At 0% last June, when I first started early days with this still mystery condition, in where my hearing was stolen from me. Okay, and then this last April it went up to 24% recognition of words, and today, this afternoon, it went to 60%. Now there's still a ways to go. Maybe hearing aids might be something that might work. This continuing progression might actually help. I think, like I say, the hypoacusis is probably 90% gone. Like, I don't really get the hypoacusis where I'm really affected by sound like I was. The ringing is still there, but again, I've trained my brain to cut it down. So I just want to let everybody know it's been 2 months since I've done a live stream. Most of you are going to watch this after the live stream, and you're going to be watching this throughout the weekend. I'm going to try to get back to doing live streams. But I just decided when I got out of that and when I was done with my thing, I was like, you know what? I need to do a live stream tonight. And I think that one of my audiologists might be watching this as well. And if you are, I want to thank you so much. And I want to see about partnering up. I think I want this channel to partner up to help fund research for tinnitus victims. And I want to just tell a story. Okay. So I'm friends with a gentleman who oversees a bunch of the Texas roadhouses here in the state of Florida. And he is originally from Utah, and he's a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I told him about, when I had my tinnitus, I told him about it. And he said, oh yeah, we do a fundraiser every year at Texas Roadhouse for tinnitus. I'm like, really? I was like, why is that? And he says, well, our CEO who founded the Texas Roadhouse ended up committing suicide. Or maybe I should say unalived himself. Got to be careful what you say here on YouTube, right? Because of his tinnitus was so bad. Okay. So folks, you need to understand this is a very serious condition, and it does lead to a lot of attempts and successful attempts at people unaliving themselves. So this is a real serious condition. People need to get help. You need to get therapy. You need support groups. You need a community. You need to reach out to me. Okay. And I can direct you towards resources. I had a BYU professor reach out to me like 6 months ago. It's like, man, I've had like this for 20 years. What do I do, Steve? And I told him what the steps that I took. I did. He got some hearing aids and it went away. And it was just for him. Hearing aids helped. For me, it wouldn't help me. Each individual case is different. So that's kind of the battle that we fight. It's a real battle, and it's a lonely battle too, because you're hearing this sound that so dominates everything, yet nobody else can hear it. And it's hard to explain. And some people who have mild cases of tinnitus, like, oh yeah, I have it now and then. And everybody to some degrees, if you have any hearing loss, and some people have had intermittent tinnitus, and they have maybe ringing in the ears for a couple hours or come and go for a couple weeks. I've had that in the past, but this is a different animal than what I'm experiencing personally. Jaylene says, love the Brian Heels interview. You were amazing as a host, as always. Still at the start of the show, Bruno won. We'll watch the rest this week. By the way, congrats on your news. So happy you're doing better. Thank you so much, Janine. Jem, JWP 17 prayers for continued healing. Really appreciate that. Janine, sorry, I typed slowly on the phone like an old lady. That's okay. So I just want to tell people that MBR is really, we've turned the corner. We did hit a major milestone this week. We did hit 10,000 subscribers again. Should have gotten there over a year ago, but God had other plans for me. And maybe it's because I was making too many plans. I just have to accept this is the journey I'm on. And the fact that it did come so easy for me the first 2 years, and then the last year and a half has been kind of a living hell before even this. Okay. That's the journey that I'm on. And that's life. Life isn't supposed to come easy. Things aren't supposed to land in your lap. I was very fortunate, privileged to have pretty easy the first couple of years of this channel. I couldn't believe what we were able to accomplish. The last year and a half, we accomplished a lot, but it was a lot more difficult. But also too, is when you grow in stature, that's when the haters come out. So we're seeing that too. And sometimes just add stressors and stuff like that can affect people. So I'm going to, I just want to say the chat is open right now, the live chat. So if you have any questions or comments right now, throw them out there because I can address anything that you would like to ask of me. Also, if you want to make some contributions, we've gotten 3. I found out today that 250 Dominican pesos is the equivalent to $4. So received a $4 contribution from Stellan Cepetis, received $19.99 from Colby Reddish, and received $10 from Paul Black. So that's awesome. That's really cool. I love it when people make contributions. So if you want to make a contribution right now in the chat and get a shout out for me, do that as well. So we're 30 minutes in. I'm just going to wait around. If anybody has any questions or wants to make any comments in the chat, I'm here right now. Here's your chance to talk to me. Let me think if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about while you're asking any questions. Gustafa says, congrats on 10K, Steve. Thank you so much. And again, it's one of those sad things. It's like, yeah, I was supposed to do that a year ago. But you know what? I looked it up right before the podcast here, and I said, what percentage of YouTube channels have 10,000 or more subscribers? It's only 5% of channels in YouTube have 10,000 or more subscribers. So we're in the top 5% of YouTube channels in the world. So basically, there's approximately 3 million YouTube channels that have 10,000 or more subscribers. And when you consider that the hundreds of millions of channels that are out there, it's actually a pretty big accomplishment to get to 10,000, especially in this Mormon podcast space, which is a very small pool. I mean, what, maybe how many have 10,000 or more? What, maybe 30, 40, 50? I mean, so really, when you stop and think of it, it's kind of elite in that area. I just never thought of it that way. Oh, Janine gives a $20 contribution. Wow, that's great. And that's the 5th time you've done a super on a live stream. So that's great. I don't know if you've done them all on mine. I think you may have, but also on others. T. Thompson says, you're the best. No, T, you're the best. Really appreciate you. Yeah, thank you for the kind words. See, this is what keeps me going, folks. Look, there are days when I just get freaking pounded. I get pounded. I spend hours on the phone trying to facilitate conversations. I don't try to publicly air my dirty laundry. I wasn't even going to talk about Fair Mormon, but I mentioned it a little bit ago on Facebook, and I just thought I didn't want to even rain on their parade, so I just kind of decided just to say something about Fair Mormon today. Janine says Canadian dollars, which is about $3. I know it's not $3, but you're right. The dollar's quite much stronger. So how many loonies is that, Janine? That's great. Okay, well, this is great. We're getting donations from Canada, the Dominican Republic, and of course the good old USA. You know, we got this whole big thing going on in Alaska, and with Putin and Trump, and oh yeah. How does the song go? It's the end of the world as we know it. Good old REM song there. Yes, folks, it does seem a bit apocalyptic at times here. I don't know if we are living in the apocalypse, because again, I'm the open-minded person who can't, is just going to try to make observations, but it certainly has an apocalyptic feel too. And remember, the apocalypse merely means reveal, revelation. It doesn't necessarily mean the end of, but it can be a reveal. So who knows? There's a lot, and this world is changing. There's definitely shifts going on in this world. I think people recognize it with the weather. I think people recognize it with the climate, the culture that we're in. I think people realize it with the state of where religion is at right now. How it seems like all of our institutions have let us all down, and we've lost trust in all of our institutions. I think that a lot of people are just kind of like looking for direction and answers in life. And, we want to provide these harbors and these safe spaces for people, especially who have suffered from PTSD, who have suffered from religious and spiritual abuse and unrighteous dominion. This happens in all religions of all kinds. And I've talked to people in all religions and all kinds, and I've seen that. I also seen the people who do the victimizing, the people who do the attacking of people, the people who do the othering, who are attempting to do it to me. You will not prosper. You will not prosper. This is a God thing. God has ordained this ministry, and it's just not good. Look, this is a miracle. When I first started this channel, I didn't know a single Latter-day Saint. Look at the impact we've had. If it's not God, I don't know what else it is. Gustafa says, I'm teaching in the World Religions Institute course next month. And of course, Gustavus is in Mexico City. You've been a great example on how to do bridge building between different beliefs. We'll be sharing some of your content during the course. Thank you, Gustafa. And I've been hearing through CES directors and different institute directors that have reached out to me and told me they play clips of my show all the time. So it's been, this is good. This is good. We're modeling, we're having teachable moments, and we're engaging all these different people who normally don't talk to each other, helping facilitate conversations like we're going to do tomorrow with Jacob Hansen and Jim Bennett. Keep an eye out for that. That's going to be, I think, a really important interview as well. Well, folks, it's 8:35 here. It's been a long week, but I'm blessed and God's been good. I want to thank everybody for all the kind words. I'm going to try to drive up to John Whitmer in Kansas City next month. I'm going to try to get to Chicago to see family, friends, and more importantly, some good food. And so that's kind of on the docket. Might be getting out to do a special trip to Michigan to see the Michigan relics at Michigan State University. Yeah, baby, that's going to happen. We'll see. All right, folks, I love all of you. You all have yourself a great weekend. Love all of you. And just remember, the most important thing is this: all the voices of the restoration will be heard here on Mormon Book Reviews.